Hi everybody, I'm Riordan. I wanted to send a big hello and thank you to all my international fans. I get so many requests to go to all these wonderful countries all around the world. I wish I had time to go everywhere. Unfortunately, I have to keep writing those books and making those deadlines, so I can't travel in person to see you, but I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you being fans of the books. And make sure you follow me on the internet social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, you name it, I'm there. So come on aboard and be part of the conversation there. I also wanted to answer some questions that I've gotten from all over the world. Fascinating questions you guys have sent me. So let's get to those. Fans in China have asked, in the Percy Jackson series, Luke and the Titans are kind of sympathetic. You understand why they're rebelling against the gods. And the gods, on the other hand, kind of seem like jerks. They're indifferent to their kids. And they're asking, why is that? Why am I portraying the Olympians as the good guys and Luke and the Titans as the bad guys? Well, I think it's sort of a mixed message. I think that the gods do have their problems, and the demigods, like Luke and Percy, have to decide what side are they going to be on. It's not clear, black and white. Both sides have their problems. But I think life is like that. Sometimes you have to stick with your family, even if your family's not the greatest, even if they're not always right. That's the dilemma the demigods face, and I think that's the dilemma that we mortals face too. The Czech Republic asks, have I been to all of the places personally that I write about in the books, and which are closest to my heart? I have been to most of them. When I started writing the Percy Jackson series, The Lightning Thief began as a bedtime story for my son, and I intentionally picked places for Percy to visit that I had visited myself with my family, so my son would recognize them. Places like New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Denver. Yes, we've been all those places. Now, I had never been to Greece or Rome when I wrote the Percy Jackson series, which is kind of ironic because they're all about Greek and Roman gods. After I wrote the series, I did travel to the Mediterranean. A lot of the places that our heroes go in the Heroes of Olympus series are places that I've been since writing the original Percy Jackson books. Some places I have not gotten to go. For instance, Rome. I've never been. I've been to Italy, but that's on my to-do list to go to Rome. So one of these days, I hope to do that. Australia wants to know, how nervous am I about wrapping up the Heroes of Olympus series? Well, I don't think I'm necessarily nervous. I'm excited. I think the ending is super, and I had so much fun wrapping up the story for the 7 demigods. I think I am nervous about how you guys are going to like it. I hope that you feel like everybody got the ending they deserved and all your questions were answered. So you'll have to tell me after you read The Blood of Olympus. Denmark wants to know, why did I decide to name Percy Jackson's sword Riptide? Well, Riptide just sounded like a good combat sort of marine kind of sounding word. I thought it would make a cool name. And then I went into the ancient Greek texts and I found out that the word riptide is nowhere in ancient Greek. I'm sure they had a word for it, but we don't know what it was. So I actually had to contact a classical scholar at a university and say, what's your best guess? What would they call riptide in ancient Greek? He thought about it and he said, I think they would probably say anaklusmos. And that sounded like a pretty cool word, so I went with that, and that's where the name for the sword came from. The Netherlands wants to know, would I rather face a Cyclops in combat with a butter knife for my weapon, or would I rather go on a date with Medusa? Well, I think if I were going to face the Cyclops, I would have to do what Annabeth does and rely on my wits and my fast talking. So I could probably pull that off. I'm not sure I would use the butter knife, but that would be all right. The date with Medusa, though, yes, I think that would be my preference. You're thinking, well, why would you do that? Well, I think Medusa would probably be okay with the date if I could just cover my eyes and keep from being seen. I don't think Medusa really wanted to cause problems for people. It wasn't her fault that she got turned into a monster. So I think it would be kind of fun to hear her side of the story. That would be worth paying for dinner. My musical friends in Germany want to know, if the crew of the Argo 2 were a band, who would play what instrument, and what would the name of the band be? Okay, let me think about this. Well, I think the easy answer is Percy would have to be on the drums, because that's the only thing that he would be okay with being ADHD. He could get his energy out on the drum set. Annabeth, for sure, would be the road manager. She would take care of the bookings, she would handle the money, she could do all the logistics stuff. Leo, I think, would be pyrotechnics. He would make sure the light show was good, the explosions went off at the right time, or maybe the wrong time, I don't know. He would be good at that. Jason, I think, would be the bass player, because he's just sort of solid, and he's right there, and he's everybody's kind of backbone. He could handle that well. Piper, lead singer. She's got the voice for it. You just have to be careful, because with that charm speak ability, she could sing you into doing just about anything. Let's see, Frank, I think he would make a good keyboard man. I can see him doing that. He's got the sort of complex skills that would lend itself to that. Who have we got? Hazel. Wow, Hazel would be like great on the tambourine. I can see her doing backup vocals. That would probably sound really cool. And she could like summon like precious metals at random moments, so these gold nuggets went flying all over the place. That'd be an interesting special effect. Have we forgotten anybody? No, I think that's the whole crew. Nico, if he was around, I'm not sure what he would do. Maybe he could play the bones. Yeah. And the name of the band? I think Percy and the Demigods. What do you guys think? Indonesia wants to know, where's Grover? We miss him. Well, Grover appreciates that. He's fine. He's at Camp Half-Blood. He's hanging out with his girlfriend Juniper, being a Council of Cloven Elders guy. He's not in any particular danger at the moment. In the book The Blood of Olympus, you will see him again, and he's going to be helping Camp Half-Blood with their defenses. So stay tuned to see how that turns out. My friends in Italy want to know, in the Percy Jackson series, the first time Percy meets Nico and Bianca D'Angelo, Percy talks about how they're gesticulating a lot as they're talking. And is that how I see Italians? The Italian fans say that they don't necessarily see themselves that way. I don't think of it that way, really. It wasn't sort of a thing where I thought it's because they're Italian that they're doing that. It's more that in that scene, Nico and Bianca are having an argument, and Percy can't hear them. He's too far away. So the way that I told the readers that the argument was happening is having them use their hands a lot. That's something that I do too, and I'm not Italian, so I think that's pretty universal. Japan would like to know, why did I decide that Percy's dad would be Poseidon out of all the 12 Olympian gods? I thought that Zeus would be too obvious. In mythology, everybody is the son of Zeus because he's the most powerful god. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. Also, I have to admit that I love the sea, and I thought that it would be neat to have a demigod that had power over the water. What would that be like? It also makes Percy try a little bit harder because his father is the second most powerful Olympian, and he has this rivalry going with Zeus. So that gave me a little bit more conflict to work with. Plus, it gives Percy the ability to make toilets explode. And what more could you possibly want? Norway would like to know, if I were to pick one mythology to actually believe in, which one would I pick? Greek and Roman, Norse, or Egyptian? That's a tough one. I have to be honest with you. I don't believe in these mythologies like as an act of religion. That would be a little scary to me because these gods that we're talking about in these stories, they are pretty crazy dudes and gals. I mean, I don't know that I'd want them on my bad side. Having said that, if I were to believe in one of the religions, I guess I would choose Egyptian, because I think those gods, they're a little more subtle. They're a little easier for me to get a handle on, like what makes them tick. And I also have always loved the idea of the Egyptian afterlife. I think that would be really cool to sail down the river of night and get to paradise. Hopefully Amit the Devourer would not eat my heart. My fans in Brazil want to know, I mentioned in the Percy Jackson series that the Beatles are demigods. They want to know who would be their godly parents. Okay, let me think about this. I think Paul McCartney would be a son of Apollo because he has the showmanship and he's got the musical skill. I think John Lennon, he'd probably be a son of Athena. He's more about the theory behind it and the strategy, and he's always thinking about the message that he's sending, and that's a very Athena thing to do. Ringo Starr? That's kind of hard. I'm wondering if he might be a son of Hephaestus, because he's all about the gadgets, and he's all about the drum sets, and that's not too far away from banging on an anvil, so I guess I'd go with that. And as for George Harrison, he was always the spiritual guy, the one who was thinking about the mystical stuff. I think he might be a son of Psyche, the goddess of the soul. You don't see a lot of those, but that would make sense for George. Ukraine wants to know, am I familiar with the fan art for the Percy Jackson series that's online? For instance, the art of Viria or Burge. Yeah, I am, and I love that artwork. I'm in awe of anyone who can do visual art because I have no talent for that at all. Now, is it exactly the way that I imagine the characters? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I think it's difficult to make any picture that looks exactly like your imagination. But I do love the art, and I love it when people share it online. Another question from my international fans. Where did the name Uncle Rick come from, and how do I feel about that? As far as I know, it started in Brazil, and the fans down there called me Tio Rick. Then other countries picked it up, and suddenly I was Uncle Rick all around the world. That's fine with me. I think it's kind of sweet. I like being thought of as part of the family, maybe the crazy old uncle who tells the funny stories at the family gatherings. So if you want to call me Tio Rick or Uncle Rick, I'm totally fine with that. Another question the fans have asked, they've noticed that I'm very active on Twitter. And how do I do that, and why do I do that? Do I enjoy interacting with fans that way? Yeah, I really do. I mean, the bad part about being so busy with my writing and having so many readers out there and so many great fans is that I can't possibly meet all of you guys in person. There's just no way. But with social media like Twitter, I can interact with many of you, and I can do it on a daily basis. I like it too because it's a way of breaking up my writing routine. I can be sitting there writing the next book, I can write a paragraph, and like Percy, I'm kind of ADHD. I like to change course a lot. So I'll hop on Twitter. If there's any cool questions there, I'll do a response, and then I'll go back to writing. It takes only a few seconds, and it's a way of keeping in touch with you guys. I really enjoy that. So come on aboard Twitter. I'm at Camp Half-Blood. I hope to see you there.